That went about as well as I expected it to, and by that I mean it went horribly. Okay. Greetings, nerds! Glitch here with Kagi. Hi! Let's trailed off in the middle of that.
Because we changed our intro slightly, but I just did the old one.
It's fine. It doesn't matter.
So today we're, I guess, not playing, really.
We decided that we wanted to try to do some visual novels, which are kind of like games, except it's mostly like reading and not really like gameplay. Like, I think, isn't Doki Doki Literature Club a visual novel? Yeah, so it's like kind of a game, kind of not a game. It's mostly just like reading, and
some of them have choices.
Yeah, some of them have like choices that you make. And we wanted to try to like not be crap at voice acting and do a couple. So this one is called Palinurus, I guess.
Palinurus?
Palinurus, maybe. And it's about like a person who's in space, and then there's like an AI that like helps control the ship that they are in, and then something bad happens. I don't know. I haven't played it yet. And so the top rated negative review was that they did it in 6 minutes, so we're not 100% sure how long this is actually gonna be.
What did I say?
Palinurus.
Palinurus. Oh. The story of the ocean of stars. Joy, beautiful sparkle of the gods. Daughter of
Elysium? I don't know.
Elysium.
Maribel Station spiraled ceaselessly in an otherwise unremarkable corner of deep space. I was waiting for my flight number to be called. I tapped a finger against my knee, eager to be on my way. I'd rehearsed this ritual countless times before. Maribel Station was hardly remarkable as far as space stations went. Though then again, who was to say that there were... Then again, who was to say there were many truly remarkable space stations in the first place? Surely there were hundreds of millions of travelers passing in droves through Adromia Central Station. Adromia was a work of art, and performers, painters, composers would all gather in the artificially terraformed Central Plaza to find an audience. It was a mosaic of colors, sights, sounds, a brazen horde of intergalactic human culture, like a Venice atop a sea of stars. And I was stuck here in this gray, factory-produced pit stop, waiting by my lonesome for my flight's preparations to finish up. For as long as I could remember, space travel out in the boonies was like this: lonely, tedious, cramped, time-consuming, stripped down to the status of a commute that never seemed to end. Some space travel... Oh, nah, I keep, adding words. This is why we shouldn't have done this.
Space travel as an enterprise was far from...
Space travel as an enterprise was far too expensive. This is going off the wheels already. And far too dangerous for allowing anything short of a mega corporation to handle the logistics. I glanced down to my ticket. Sure enough, there it was. Titan Transportation Solutions in loud, bold, bleak font. They were one of the big players in the field, and they were the ones that footed the bill for, I don't know, thousands of space stations just like this one.
Well, we're 3 minutes in and we're barely past the introduction, so I feel like that 6-minute person was a liar.
Well, we had an intro and stuff. Maybe they just, speed read and clicked through everything. And let's be perfectly clear here. Space is big, enormous. Try to wrap your head around how infinitely spread out, how empty it all really is. You can't. To get anywhere of consequence in space, one must leapfrog through dozens upon dozens of space stations like these scattered throughout the galaxy. I'd been doing precisely that for the better part of an old Earth month. So rest assured, I was well rehearsed. I knew my lines. I could nail down the song and dance in my sleep. I was, at any rate, getting restless. There wasn't a lot to see in space. Tons of tiny, identical white dots, and plenty of tiny, gray checkpoints to pass through. But that was the price you had to pay to get anywhere. And sometimes, if you were lucky, you'd get the occasional nebula, or a debris cloud, or a band of pirates. I focused my attention on the silver spaceship which laid before me. I'd seen many like it before. It was small, intended for a single occupant. From the outside, it looked relatively unremarkable. It was sleek like an arrow. The cockpit stood out. The windshield wrapped itself around the front of the vessel, stopping just as the ship's nose began to flow downward into its underbelly. Its exterior was sleek, its curving wings wide like that of an albatross. Attention, attention, Maribel Station, the intercom crackled. We are now boarding one-man shuttle flight 93094B. Shuttle flight 93094B. I'd be a terrible intercom person. Passenger of flight 93094B, please secure your belongings and board immediately.
Aren't they the only person here?
Yeah. Well, no. They're waiting for their flight.
Yeah, but they said they were alone in deep space.
I don't know, man. Finally, that was just the notice I'd been waiting for. My flight was prepped and ready. I hurried down the main concourse of the hangar bay, checked to make sure the shuttle was marked with my flight number, and slipped inside. The cabin interior betrayed its sleek exterior. Long lights
Lights along the walls and ceiling illuminated the passage, the luminance rippling towards the cockpit.
Lord, can you, cut down on the words in these sentences? The floor was lined with dark navy blue carpet that traveled up the walls for a few inches. Sleek. I made my way towards the cockpit, taking a look around. A cursory glance revealed 2 seats, confirming the hunch that this was a repurposed vessel. I remember that back in the day, every spaceship required human pilots and co-pilots. I guess this was a relic from the old regime. There wasn't much room to move around in the cockpit. A horde of buttons, dials, flashing lights, and other mechanisms were scattered around the control console. The cockpit was dominated by the enormous windshield that opened up to a commanding view of, at the moment, precisely nothing. Nothing but space and an ocean of stars. It was hard to get excited for such a sight anymore. Within moments, the cockpit was bathed in warm blue light, and a computerized voice began to speak. Do you want to be the computerized voice?
New passenger detected. Initiating registration sequence.
I held up the ticket between 2 fingers just to make sure the system registered it. The blue light shifted around the small area and then dissipated suddenly.
Passenger identification ticket, code number 09924003. Transit authorized. Spooling intelligent navigator kernel. Analyzing Anima Complex, unlocking communication synthesis codec. Quantum processors are online. Database registries are online. Analytical engines are online. Actualization key is online, registering hex sequence and ionic bulkheads. Checking firmware for updates. 1, 2. Firmware is currently up to date. Checking sentience limitation codec. 1, 2. Unit awakening authorized. Intelligent navigator persona unlocked. Navigator 21109CBP. Copyright Enclitus Intergalactic Transportation. U-2520. Unit name Intelligent Navigator Budapest. Then... Oh, that's you.
Then suddenly the voice became softer, more polite, and more feminine.
Does that mean I have to?
Yes. Just be less robotic and more like a person.
Initializing. 1 moment, please.
Slowly it became more and more human. I heard something click above my head and glanced up to notice a small metal compartment extruding a multitude of lenses, like the most indecisive camera in the cosmos. So that's where it was. Inside it, some mechanism whirred to life and the lens began to twist, oscillate, and extend. They focused on a single point, the pilot's seat to the left. Slowly, a human finger existed. Its form was translucent, accompanied by a dress white as ivory. For a second it seemed that it had caught fire, as brilliant red hair flowed from its head down to its back and shoulders. Delicate feminine features emerged as one, ears, a nose, and the eyes, and a mouth curled in a polite, neutral grin. 2 long and slender arms trailed to 2 small and slender hands, clasping each other in front of the flowing dress. The projection's eyes opened, revealing irises of striking sapphire. They looked like planets glowing against the backdrop of deep space. It took all the appearance of a woman, but I recognized the emulation at work. This would be the personal navigator assigned to this shuttle, an artificial intelligence designed to serve humanity.
Greetings, Pass.
Pink charming. This is your first interaction with this, like, graceful, beautiful artificial intelligence. And they open their mouth and just go, greetings, passenger. We're doing great. Oh god.
Greetings.
This is not good. It's already taken almost twice the amount of time that one guy said it when we, like, just started. Okay. Do you want me to read it? I'll read this line. Greetings, passenger sir. Are you doing well today? Yes. I'm doing fine, thank you. I took a second to ease into my seat, checking all over the belts and harnesses which draped my hard suit. Time to head out again, I suppose. Space travel certainly does get exhausting after a while. But oh well, at least the navigator seems nice this time. AIs had become a fixture in space travel by this point. Before, you need 2 pilots at least to operate a vessel like this. But programs didn't need food or water, and they certainly didn't ask for money. It was a convenient, cost-cutting measure for the megacorps, and the switch was welcomed by consumers with open arms.
I'm glad you are feeling well. I am the Intelligent Navigator Budapest, and I will be accompanying you on this voyage. Now, let's take a look at your registration.
The navigator turned its back to me, bringing up electronic windows of records and data like it was conjuring magic barriers. People loved AI for stuff like this. They brought all the efficiency of a personal planner, calculator, and computer and stuffed it all into a pretty-looking package with flair and style. By all stretches of the imagination, they were wonderful workers. They worked tirelessly, and they were quick thinkers, and you could customize anything about them to meet your own needs. It seemed this navigator was left with its default settings, though. Just as well, I didn't plan to see much of it from the cabin. The pilot seat had been retooled to fit its hologram generator, so I wasn't much use here anyway.
Departing from Mirabel Station at 0400 Imperial Standard Time.
0400 is how people normally pronounce military time.
I didn't know what that was. Destination Galactic Grand Central Station in the Alpha Centauri system. This is going to be quite the lengthy journey, isn't it? Not to worry, passenger sir. You have my word. I'll get you to Grand Central safe and sound.
Some people ended up getting too attached to their AIs. Personally, I tended to keep my distance. I would. If I had, like, an AI, I'd just be like, this is my buddy, my friend. If anything happens to them, I will cry. TM. At the end of the day, they were basically programs, lines of code assembled to execute tasks behind the artificial visage of a living person. Whatever niceties they uttered came from the mouth of some programmer, or some psychologist, or clinic, or at least from the dialogue construction engine designed by such. Content to confirm my presence and leave the piloting to the it's content, not content. I was like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Content to confirm my presence and leave the piloting to the navigator, I nodded in affirmation.
We will be launching from the station now. Please remain seated and harnessed until instructed otherwise.
Roger that, loud and clear. I took a few paces to my seat in the cabin, not too far from the personal navigator stationed in the cockpit. I lowered myself into a chair. It was surprisingly plushy. As usual, I threaded my arms through the safety harnesses and then clicked the connectors together. Leaning back, I turned my head to look through the window to my right. I heard the electronic spluttering and whirring of the shuttle disengaging from the hangar restraints. My stomach twisted with anticipation, and suddenly the shuttle lurched forwards. After a few moments of throttle, we reached open space and cruised our way out of the station.
And it appears we're off. Currently at cruising speed of 40,000 kilometers per hour. Piloting navigational route now. Calculating estimated arrival time. So, passenger sir, do you travel often?
Yes, very.
But never with a navigator as amiable as yours truly, I assume.
I laugh. That's pretty clever for a navigator. You came up with that, or you programmers?
That line's one of my own, thank you very much.
One of your own, which you thought up using the processors your company built for you?
Why are you being so rude to the navigator? Teasing your navigator is against regulations, you know. I ought to have you reported.
Oh dear, I do apologize.
I thought you said you weren't a novice to travel.
I'm not.
You seem like a greenhorn to me. Which of the other navigators have you met?
Collecting survey data for the company, I see. Don't underestimate me, navigator. I wasn't joking around about how much I've traveled. Let's see, there was Vienna, Warsaw, Chicago, Osaka, Chiang Mai. I don't know how to pronounce these.
I get it. You've had your way with a bountiful cast of artificial intelligences.
You make it sound so indecent when you put it like that.
Oh, is that so, passenger sir?
I gave a small, polite chuckle out of respect, though it's not as if I was particularly obligated to show such social courtesy to a machine. Lord, can I talk? It was just a peculiar personal habit of mine, which I've obtained from spending so much time in transit.
If you don't mind me asking... What will you be doing once we arrive in Alpha Centauri?
It's Centauri.
Centauri. It'd better be something worthwhile after such a long trip. Oh.
Click. Is this how you screen for potential troublemakers? I wasn't planning anything shady now. But I was like, I don't have to read this. The navigator lets out a short, pre-programmed giggle.
Haha, goodness no, just curious is all. I asked the same question of all of my passengers.
Just curious? The navigator is just curious.
Something of a tradition I have,
A tradition it has? No kidding. I shrugged. Sightseeing mostly. Maybe I'd try my luck down on ACB-2.
The planet? It must be unbearably hot at this point in its orbit.
Oh, it's unbearably hot all the time. It's like walking into the core of a smelting plant.
Hahaha, true. Any business down there?
Corporate espionage, is it now?
Now, sir, I assure you, none of these questions were pre-programmed. I'm going to be piloting shuttles for time eternal, if you haven't noticed. You could afford me a little curiosity about my passengers.
It's mostly morbid curiosity, maybe, that's pulling me here. Maybe I'll scope out some mining prospects in the area. They say they found platinum down there. I could use it, afford a square meal. More likely I end up digging up some nickel and iron, but that'd be fine with me. Shoot for the moon and you land among the stars, or something like that.
All that for a meal? Pardon me for saying so, passenger sir, but that sounds a little reckless.
Might be. Me, I'm not bothered by it. It's hard to scrape up credits in this economy. Besides, it's bound to be a pretty view, and who knows, maybe some other lunatics have the same idea I did.
Sounds like a wonderful adventure. Is that just me? Okay.
Yeah. It has your name right there!
Haha, you're quite the character, sir. I'll be rooting for you to hit it big.
Thank you kindly for the well wishes. Coming from an AI, I didn't think much of it, but it was nice to hear aloud all the same.
You're quite welcome. Now, we'll be serving a complimentary drink and beverage momentarily. Drink and beverage? And? Those are the same thing. Also, this
Drink
visual
squared.
novel is very visual.
Oh, definitely. Ah, that's great. I had to skip breakfast. We're at like 20 minutes when you want to end this.
Once we get to a decent place soon. Okay.
The navigator smiled. After the meal, I went ahead and took a short nap. Snuggled into the cabin chair, I slept lightly, but well. I didn't dream of anything, but I didn't want to either. After some time of sleep, however, I was awakened with the start.
That seems like a good place.
Alright. Haha. We're gonna make you wait for part 2, leaving it on a cliffhanger because we suck. But yeah, that went about as well as I expected it to, and by that I mean it went horribly. But if you guys liked us doing some visual novels, make sure to let us know when we keep doing them. We'll finish this one at some point.
Try to be better at voice acting.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to practice, at least. We have a couple of these on Steam that we want to do at some point, so yeah, make sure to let us know. But we hope you liked this commentary, and we've got merch if you want to check that out, and make sure to join the Nerdhood. It's a dysfunctional place, and that's pretty much it. Goodbye!
Bye!